What? What's going on? No matter how many times I try, my apartment key won't work. I've just returned from a business trip and find myself completely locked out. I try to reach Randy, who should be home, but there's no response. Peeking through the keyhole, I see that the apartment is empty. I'm sure I'm at the right place, so what's going on? Where's my stuff? Where did Randy disappear to? Panicked, I rush to my in-laws' house, and there is Randy. As soon as I arrive, Randy looks at me and says, "Who are you?" Speechless, I watch as Randy smirks triumphantly. I could never have imagined the ending that awaited me. My name is Sharon, and I am 32 years old. I am a working housewife living with Randy. We've been married for 3 years. Randy was originally a colleague at work, and we were fierce competitors. He was a good rival, but also my biggest supporter. It didn't take long for us to start dating, and we got engaged after a year. But there was one thing that worried me about getting married. It was something Randy said as we were about to register our marriage. "Sharon, I'm thinking of quitting my job after we get married." "What? Quitting your job? Why would you do that?" I asked, stunned. "Actually, I've been thinking about this for a while. I want to use my experience to start my own company." "Your own company?" "Yeah, I want to start a business and do something bigger. So please let me give it my best shot." He bowed his head, and I could see the sincerity in his eyes. I didn't know how to respond. I wanted to support Randy as his biggest advocate, but quitting his job to start a business was a huge risk. We were married now, and I hoped to have kids someday. Was it really necessary to sacrifice our stable life for this dream? I couldn't voice my concerns to Randy. In the end, he quit his job as soon as we got married and used all our savings to start a staffing agency. People often said, "Wow, Randy is amazing. Aren't you proud your husband is a CEO?" But I didn't feel that way at all. My female colleagues, especially my good friend Marilyn, seemed to understand my unease. "Starting a business right after getting married is too risky," Marilyn often said, echoing my thoughts. "I agree with you, Marilyn." I wanted to say no, but I couldn't. "Be careful, Sharon. Randy tends to push things through based on his mood." "I know. I've seen him make mistakes at work because of that." "You'll have to keep an eye on him, Sharon." "I will. I'll listen to him regularly and do what I can. But the truth is, I've only ever done my current job, so the world of entrepreneurship is completely unknown to me." "Why did Randy suddenly want to start a business, and why a staffing agency?" I asked, but Randy never gave me a clear answer. Though Randy had started his own company, it seemed he hadn't thought things through. He hired several employees right off the bat, but with little work coming in, the labor costs were skyrocketing. In today's world, there are countless staffing agencies online, so offering face-to-face staffing services was, to put it bluntly, reckless. Randy used to be competent at his job, but ever since he quit, his ideas seemed to be running dry. Sure enough, the company ran out of funds in no time, and employees started quitting. Finally, unable to pay salaries, Randy approached me. "Sharon, can you lend me $20,000? "What, $20,000? Do you even realize how much money that is?" "I do, but what choice do I have? I have to pay the employees." "That may be true, but that's not my problem." "You are my wife, and you are saying it's not your problem. You married me, committing to a lifetime together, right?" "Right, so you should help me out when I'm in trouble." Randy spoke as if he had done nothing wrong. I couldn't find the words to respond to his cold, disdainful gaze. For the next few days, Randy kept demanding the $20,000, adding insults like, "This happened because you didn't support me as a wife. It's all your fault. You need to cover the financial shortfall." I was berated daily and even faced some physical aggression. As days went by, I started to believe that maybe it was my fault. A year into our marriage, Randy's company teetered on the edge of bankruptcy. By then, my savings had significantly dwindled, mostly drained by efforts to keep Randy's company afloat. Despite the dire situation, Randy refused to consider shutting down the business. Instead, he sought help from his parents, my father-in-law, an average office worker, and my mother-in-law, a homemaker, had little to spare, but they couldn't turn away their desperate son. Ultimately, they mortgaged their house to lend him the money. Learning of this, even I was taken aback. How far would any parent go for their child? If Randy's company failed, they'd lose their home. Unfortunately, my fears materialized when Randy's company collapsed within just 6 months, leaving us drowning in debt. Following the fallout, Randy seemed to lose all drive to work. He spent his days idling around the house. Unable to tolerate it any longer, I confronted him multiple times. Randy, look, we're not exactly swimming in cash either. I've exhausted my savings. Can you please start looking for a job? What? How can you be so heartless? I'm devastated after losing my company. This is not the time for that. We owe money to your parents. They'll be fine. Their house is collateral. Do you even understand what that means? If things continue like this, they'll lose their house. It doesn't matter to us. My parents are old. They might as well be useful for once. I can't believe this. I never thought you'd be this kind of person. From that point on, cracks began to appear in our marriage. It's been about 6 months since Randy's company went bankrupt, and he shows no signs of finding a job. He's doing day labor once a week and spending all the money on himself. I've been dipping into my savings and cutting corners to make ends meet. Then one day, during a break at work, my mother-in-law called. Ah, Sharon, sorry for the sudden call, but I need to talk to you. Hello, mother-in-law. What's going on? Could you lend us some money? If we can't pay back the loan by the end of the month, we lose our house. It seemed my worst fears were coming true. I told my mother-in-law, let me think about it. I've already talked to Randy, but he said, I don't have any money. If you lose the house, so be it. What? Randy said that? What should we do, Sharon? We're going to lose our home. Calm down, I have an idea. After hanging up, I called my father, who answered immediately. Hey Dad, it's Sharon. Ah, a long time, not talk. How are you? I'm fine, but there's a problem. What happened? Randy's company went bankrupt, and now his parents might lose their house. What? Why? After explaining the situation, my father agreed to help financially, even though Randy was clearly at fault. My dad said, he is the man you chose, and didn't blame me. My father is a wealthy real estate investor, and I've never had to worry about money. The rental income alone is a considerable amount, so to be honest, I never had any problems making ends meet until I got married. But when I got a job, I decided to be financially independent and refuse any support from him. And Randy ruined all of that. I felt guilty, but I had no choice but to accept my father's help to save my in-laws. I kept it a secret from Randy and transferred the money to my in-laws. Why didn't I tell Randy? I've only told him that my dad is a real estate agent. If he found out about my father's wealth, I feared he'd change his attitude and start demanding money. If that happened, it would be the end of us. If we are going to continue living together, I don't want to grow to resent Randy. That's why I have to keep my father's wealth a secret from him. To avoid hurting my beloved parents and in-laws, I chose to continue my relationship with Randy. When I told my mother-in-law about my father's financial help, she said, Are you sure? You and your father saved us. It's fine. I'd rather avoid any unnecessary drama. All right, if you say so, we'll pay back the money, even if it takes time. Don't worry, I'll help with that too. Thank you, Sharon. You've been a lifesaver. I could hear the tremor in my mother-in-law's voice over the phone. I was glad that I could help her. Knowing that she had been pushed into such a corner, I felt a sense of relief in being able to assist. But Randy's behavior was deteriorating. He was increasingly absent from home, and when I asked where he was, he retorted with, None of your business, yet he still demanded money for groceries. Then, I had to embark on a business trip for 3 days. I was worried but also relieved. 3 days without seeing Randy's face. I had married him out of love, but now his presence was a burden. 3 days later, I returned from my trip. From the airport, I headed home with a gloomy feeling. I should have been eager to get home, but the thought of seeing Randy again filled me with dread. When I tried to unlock the door, something felt off. What's going on? No matter how many times I tried, the key wouldn't work. Randy wasn't responding to my calls. It seemed like I was locked out. What should I do if Randy is not home? I can't get in. And it wasn't just that. Peering through the peephole, I saw that the apartment was empty. The house shouldn't be wrong, but why? Where's my stuff? Where did Randy go? Panicked, I forgot to call the management company and called my parents instead, but they didn't answer. So, I decided to go to my in-laws' house where I could also give them the souvenir I'd bought. When I arrived, Randy was there. Randy, what are you doing here? My mother-in-law spoke first. He showed up out of the blue, asking to stay for a few days. What, Randy? What's going on? I couldn't get into our apartment. Randy chuckled and looked down at me. Who are you? I was at a loss for words, but Randy wore a smug grin on his face. Still, I mustered the courage to speak. What are you talking about, Randy? What about the house keys? Isn't it obvious? I've already moved out of that house. What? Oh, and by the way, we're already divorced, so we are nothing to each other now. I've got a new girlfriend, so you should just go. A new girlfriend? Caught off guard, my mind went blank as Randy shoved his phone screen in my face. There he was hugging the young woman, both of them smiling happily. In that moment, everything felt meaningless, and I lost the will to think. Fine, whatever. This marriage was over a long time ago. I slumped to the floor, and Randy looked down at me, grinning. Then, with a loud smack, Randy fell to the ground. His mother-in-law had slapped him. What? Mother, what are you doing? What have you done, young man? What do you mean, what have I done? I just left a useless wife, and I'm planning to marry my new girlfriend. His mother-in-law started to tremble, her face turning red. Randy, do you really not know that you have this life because of Sharon? When your business was failing and this house was about to be foreclosed, Sharon asked her father for a loan. My father-in-law did what Randy was visibly shocked, probably never expecting this. His mother-in-law didn't hold back. And yet you, how much trouble do you need to cause others to be satisfied, Randy? Even your mistress grew tired of you and disappeared. Serves you right, this is the fate of a man who lived only for himself. After the divorce, I moved back in with my parents. They're worried about me, fresh out of a failed marriage, but truth be told, I have no regrets. I have a job and a loving family who stand by my side. That alone makes me feel truly blessed. From now on, I want to live my life to the fullest for the people who truly care about me.